So if you guys are watching my Let's Be Real videos, a lot of you probably aren't going to agree with what I'm saying, and you know what? That's completely fine. This is just my opinion, and it's not factual, but I do have my own evidence why I believe what I say is true, but that's just my opinion. And if you guys don't agree with it, that's completely fine, and you know, I get my regular hate here and there, and a lot of people say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but I've been doing this for almost 2 years now, and it's about time somebody says the things that people aren't going to say. And what I'm about to say today is probably going to split a lot of you. But I think Android mid-ranges are better than the flagships. Now, let me just disclaim, this is my opinion. Here is why I say that. So yesterday I talked about how the flagships only getting 3 years of software support is a joke. And I think that you spending thousands of dollars on a smartphone is ridiculous. Well, nowadays it's a new norm, but in that video I talked about how if you get a mid-range, you could get the same amount of support. And that's relatively the case. I'm going to call out a couple of mid-ranges and I'm going to explain to you. So for starters, the Samsung Galaxy A71 5G. It's a mid-range. Yes, it's made out of plastic. Yes, it's probably not as great as the flagship, but it has 3 cameras and a 4th lens. They're all good quality, reliable cameras. They seem to be. It has the 765G chipset with the X55 modem. Or, sorry, not the X55. Fact check me in the comments. But it has 5G. It will be able to handle the speeds that current 5G is at right now. It is hundreds of dollars less. You get an OLED display, 1080p. That's a very good display, good picture quality. And most of all, you get a Samsung experience, fast charging, and a headphone jack. And that phone cost around $500, $600. Now let's take a look at the Google Pixel 4a. Now, I am a little bit split on that phone, but to be fair, a year prior, the 3a gives you a nice display, notchless, no notch, dual speakers, headphone jack. It gives you the 670, which will last you 3 years, and a 4th year of security patch. Again, software support. Good quality pixel camera, and most of all, in a form factor that's nice. The 4a ups that. The 730 gives you a better camera lens, fingerprint scanner, fast charging, dual speakers, and it gives you the Google Android experience. And that device costs $350. And also one last one, the iPhone SE. Now that phone is not a 5G phone, but take into consideration it's an iOS device. It's a nice compact form factor. A good reliable Apple camera. Well, not an Apple camera, but a good reliable camera from Apple. Long-term support in terms of software. And rich features if you're an iOS user. You see what I'm saying? The mid-ranges are able to do just about half of what the flagships can do. And some of them could do about almost the same. The only difference is the price and also maybe a little bit of performance. But average users on whole use their phones for calls, sending messages, taking photos, watching movies, etc. Some people do like that extra performance. And if you want that experience, go get yourself the flagship. But if you think about it for a second, a mid-range actually can do almost everything that the flagship can do for a fraction of the cost. Now, my good friend Sam from C-Mobile Tech has always said, just get the last year flagship. While you are right, Sam, and I would consider that, the only problem is most people on Face don't want to get a year-old phone. They always like things that are just brand new. That's just how sales work. And even though you are right, and I do sometimes recommend getting the year-old, some people just prefer it. Some people just prefer paying for something new. Maybe that's the case. I'm not a consumer. I just buy whatever I prefer because I don't go mid-ranges. But I think that the mid-ranges can perform just as well and can do just as good of a job as the flagship. And also software support, again, excluding the A line for a second because that's a little hit and miss here and there. But the Google mid-ranges, they get the same software support as the regular Pixel lineup. Now, of course, they probably will change that with the current gen and also maybe adding a little bit more better software support. But my point is this. Why spend thousands of dollars when you can get a mid-range that can do just the same amount of job, but at half the cost, like OnePlus as well? I even forgot to mention OnePlus. I don't think they're flagship, except for the 8 Pro. I think that their phones are mid-ranges all the time. But I think it's interesting that the fact that a mid-range can do the job of a flagship, but at half the cost. And I was doing a series called The Rise of Midranges, which I'm going to continue, by the way. Part 2 will be released at the end of August. I am working on it. So for me, I think at the end of the day, if a mid-range can do half of what the flagship can do, that says a lot about face value for what you pay for your money. So at the end of the day, it's your decision. If you want that flagship premium experience, you go that route. But if you're a simple user, especially Android, and you don't really care, there's nothing wrong with getting a mid-range. It performs just as good. It does good quality at times. Same Android experience for Samsung, Google, OnePlus. And most of all, it just works. And I think overall, on a bigger picture, a mid-range may seem a little sketchy from what I'm saying, but when you use it on a day-to-day, you're probably not even going to care and notice the difference enough. Or at least, of course, you're tech savvy.